Welcome to the WangHiro podcast, where we answer Malaysians' burning questions about personal finance with fact-based answers. On Running is a Swiss company that makes running shoes that promise to cushion your feet perfectly on landing. They've even patented the cushioning technology, which they've named CloudTec. On top of that, On Running is backed by tennis legend Roger Federer, and in 2022, On Running sales soared past $1 billion. Some analysts are even calling On Running a potential multi-bagger. Today we're asking, is On Running worth investing in? Welcome back to Stock Investing from Zero on WangHiro, a series where we put a beginner's lens on companies to help you decide if you should invest. We do this by asking 4 questions. Number 1, what do they do and how do they make money? Number 2, are they profitable and financially stable doing it? 3, who is their audience and how big can they grow? And lastly, are they cheap or expensive? So John, let's start with the first question. What does On Running do?
Yeah, so On Running is actually an athletic footwear company. And what's great about the company's history was that it was founded by a Swiss triathlete.
Oh, wow.
And he got inspiration for the sole of the shoe, the cushioning of the shoe, by looking at garden hoses.
Oh,
So
that's like
the garden,
literally like the inspiration from the backyard, right?
yeah, literally from the backyard. A friend told him about it. Actually, it was not. He didn't really mention about who his friend was who gave him the idea. But based on what I've read, his friend gave him this idea about the garden hose and asked him to try. But he was the one who took the company further, took the technology further. And why I found it very interesting is because I'm also going through Phil Knight, the founder of Nike, his book called Shoe Dog. And I see a lot of similarities because he actually used to just be an importer of shoe. He actually imported Onitsuka Tiger shoes. You know the Essex, the old version of Essex, the very plain one?
Oh,
That was how Nike was started. He was importing shoes from Japan first.
okay.
Yeah, Onitsuka Tiger. You go and Google lah. You once you see it, you understand it looks like the Essex, old Essex brand. And but he improved on the shoe, keep on telling his Japanese manufacturers improve because he himself was a runner. So I see that similarity to On because the shoe technology, how it wants, he gets feedback from other of his athlete peers. And to his credit also, he knew that he couldn't be the CEO because he knew the technology of the shoe best, but finances, scaling the company structure, he actually got in his friends. And I think, if not mistaken, one of it is an ex-McKinsey consultant or something like that, right? So that's where it led to On's Running IPO. Even though they're valued so high, I just saw a tweet yesterday, at the time of this recording yesterday. They said that On Running's fantastic business performance is actually negatively correlated to the amount of money they raise. Okay, now let me explain.
Interesting.
Most unicorns, they like to raise as much as possible by putting as high as a valuation as possible. Okay,
right.
These guys do moderate valuation, raise as little money as possible because they don't want to dilute equity. They only raised like 4 million in the last round for a unicorn or someone doing 1 billion in sales.
Wow.
Yeah, it's 4 million of, I know, very little amount lah. It's very little amount. So the tweet actually said like, that's why a lot of people say that this is going to be potentially, again, no buy or sell call, potentially a multi-bagger, is because they are very disciplined with capital. And when we talk about sponsorship later, when you talk about all this sponsorship later, how they manage capital efficiently is actually a good model for management. I feel a good tick for management competency. Okay, so here we come. First question: what do they do? Making shoes, athletic shoes. Maybe I'll share my screen to give the audience a visualization of how these shoes actually look like. Can you imagine garden hose, garden hose into the sole?
But unlike like Nike, they don't do anything else, right? It's just purely shoes.
They're starting to go into sweaters. I realize, wear
So
and
they
everything.
are going into.
They are. Okay, so these are the 3 founders, I think. Let me see. On Running shoes. Let me just show this. So you can see this one. As you can see quite visibly, you think of one of these as a garden hose, garden hose, garden hose. So it
Oh.
feels very, I think, raw, for the lack of a better word. I'm not a professional runner, so it feels very raw that you run on it because you feel you're one with the surface.
Mm.
But at the same time, provide independent cushioning across your sole, from the front heel to the back heel is independent cushioning. I really want to get my hands to try. Apparently, as I was sharing with you before the podcast, they have samples in JD in Wanotama. So I'm going to give it a try because if it's really that comfortable, the price tag is going to be hefty, but I think it's well worth the price, So this is what they do. Okay. Second question is, how do they make money? How do they make money? Are they profitable and financially stable doing that? Okay. So let's go to our favorite ticker. Now, if you haven't signed up for ticker yet, it's free for a limited amount of data for US markets. But if you want the full version in which I'm using today, there's an affiliate link below that you can, sign up. So this is on running, ONON. So looking at the numbers, let's see how they are doing. Let me stretch this out a little bit. They just got listed recently, 2021. So if I plot this out, if you look at the revenue, okay, they just turned profitable last year, right? Net income here, okay. And as usual, the third one. What do I do, Louis? What's the next number I should be looking at? Revenue, net profit. My hint to you is
Cash flow.
correct. Cash flow from operations. Okay.
Thankfully.
Yeah.
Thanks for the hint.
So cash flow from operations in 2022, it seems negative, but then we'll ask why. Change in inventory. So inventory did actually stock up. They actually stocked up quite a bit in inventory. So that's their working capital is a bit stuck. Inventory means you build up, but you're not selling as fast. So this, for me, this lies in distribution, marketing costs, all that kind of thing. So they don't spend on advertising. They're very, very, what do you call it? They're very cost conscious because they know even if they spend on advertising, they can't beat the Nikes of this world, the Under Armours, who already are cash flow and then they're willing to spend, you see. Yeah. So I think that's where the guerrilla marketing tactics, and we'll talk about Roger Federer later. They actually never spent to get Roger Federer. Actually, if you read the story, Roger Federer actually found the shoe in a store or introduced by a friend, and he started wearing it, and he wore it at, I think, Wimbledon or something. And then someone texted the founder and said, "Hey, do you know Roger Federer's wearing your shoe?" And then they reached back and said, "Thank you, Roger." And he asked Roger for feedback. How do you find a shoe? And then Roger wanted a meeting. And after the meeting, Roger decided, "Oh my God, these guys, I need to have a steak." So instead of them paying Roger Federer actually came to them. So yeah, and now that's why Roger Federer has a stake in it.
For Roger Federer.
Yeah. So yeah, interesting how they, so looking at this, they do need to sort out their inventory problems though, but it seems to be coming down comparatively to, to the end of financial year 2022 lah. Because here you see, the inventory, change in inventory, 12 million, 61, 31, right? And then last year it just became big. My guess, okay, I've not read the annual report and the management discussion. They expanded, and then because of that, inventory is being stuck off. So they do need to manage that a bit better lah, to bring in the cash flow. All right. So next question, who is the audience? How big can they grow? I was just, so if you were to do this research, then we will say, okay, athletic, this is how I'll do it, athletic, footwear, market size. So you can get a glimpse from here. If you look at the trends, CAGR of about 5.8%, okay, growing, right? 36.28% of the global market is going to come from Asia Pac. So that's why I think ON is valuable for them to move here. In terms of market size, it's not that big compared to other industries. 129 billion, okay, 2022. This is the size of it. So who will be the competitors? Companies like Essex, company like Nike, company like Under Armour, they're not really known for shoes. Maybe companies like Skechers, okay? So I think that's where there's not an equal to equal comparison because some companies just focus on shoes, mainly shoes. But some companies, they branch out into like athleisure wear and all that. And you gotta like segment it down into that segment of footwear to compare. Yeah, yeah. So last but not least, oh, I didn't share this tab. I'm so sorry. So I was also talking about the size of the athleisure footwear market. CAGR of 5.83%. You know, market today valued at 129 billion. Asia Pac is one of the largest growing markets. Okay. So now coming back to valuations, are they cheap or expensive? I think this is where we look at their forward and next 12 months PE and last 12 months PE. Okay. Now, here's the struggle with looking at historical, but there's also a struggle looking at forward. If you look at historical, it's high now because it's like 110 times. Why? As I showed you in the detailed financials, the profit is so little, right? They're starting up, huge revenue growth, profit is so little. Translation into cash flow now is not so good because of inventory. Where does the inflection point happens? Because if they can maintain some kind of a margin of 20-30% going forward, right, which is tough in the shoe market lah. But if they do that, your P is going to come down substantially. So now is your question of can management deliver and execute that kind of return to net profit? Can they manage inventory? That would be the question asking, rather than just looking, oh, it's very expensive, it's 110 times. Yeah, so you need to make an educated guess whether this management has the capability to turn this growth in revenue into profit, into genuine profit. So that's where your skills as an investor will really will shine out lah. What kind of research you're doing, whether these guys have any track record delivering, or whether this is common for a shoe company, you know. So obviously investing is not like done in 5-10 minutes, right? I'm just showing like an overview of how I would do things. Yeah. So
but is it like too early now to look at it given the price?
So very good. If it's too early, but at the same time you don't know when you're going to be too late, what will you do, Louis? I mean, you've been through how I analyze, how I size portfolios, right? My hint to you is the sizing of the portfolio.
Yeah. Put like a small portion of
precisely. You put like maybe a 0.5 portion, and you know, if you're wrong, 0.5. But if you're right, my God, you know, that 0.5 can be like, let's say it's 10x, right? 10x is a 5%, you know, in your portfolio, and the risk.
So you hit yourself for not putting in more.
Correct. Then you hit yourself putting not putting. But there's nothing wrong topping up and monitoring the company as you go along, ma. But you see, by you not putting anything, that means what it tells you is this: you have not done enough work to give yourself that confidence. Usually, that's how I say it. That means if you're putting everything 0.5, let's say Microsoft, a company that's been doing very well, but then Google is the best example. When Microsoft launched in collaboration with OpenAI, launched ChatGPT, they priced Google as if Google will go out of business, you know. Serious. They priced Google until it was like 18-19 times.
Wow.
I picked up Google lah. I picked up Google then because I know it's temporary. And true enough, I've been proven right lah. Okay.
Yeah.
Adobe, same thing. When they bought Figma, they priced Adobe as if you're the stupidest mistake you've ever made, right? And I bought Adobe half of where it is today. Just this temporary blip, right? So that means what I'm trying to say is that you always have to do the homework. You may not buy the company today, but you always have to do the homework in the preparation that when the price discrepancy happens, you go in with conviction. Literally, as an investor, what you normally have to do is this. It's every day you're flipping rocks, you know. In fund manager speak, is seeking alpha lah. You're always seeking alpha ideas, whatsoever. Every day you're studying. Pick your interest, read. You may not use it today. You may not use it tomorrow. You may not use it next year. But when it comes 3 years down the road, you are ready. It's like kung fu lah, you know. You practice all this. You never know when you're going to have the kick or have the punch, right? But you're ready. You see? Yeah. Am I making sense, Louis?
That makes sense because like you bring up the kung fu example. I've been like a martial arts student since I was 17 years. I never punched anyone in the streets. Yeah. I think I also want to ask about like the analyst prediction of the multi-bagger. So what's your opinion on this? Like, should we actually like rely on these kind of analysis?
Ignore. Ignore, because you see, what you want is, again, when I said do the homework, it's not reading one headline and that's your homework.
Right.
Homework means you read the headline, interesting. Why did he say that? Why did he say that? And he said this reasoning. Okay, do the homework. Agree or disagree. Validate the source. Validate his opinion. And you said that independent thinking is more important than anything else, right? I'm not to say ignore analysts. I'm saying read between the lines of what the analysts say. If the analyst says it's multi-bagger, okay, why? It's not the headline that is going to make you the money, It's the why. And if the why doesn't make sense to you because you have not done the homework, that means that's where you will likely fail as an investor. It's the why. It's always the why. Read the annual report. Why?
Devil's in the details.
Why? Yes, the devils are in the details. People look, you know what they read from an analyst report? People, and
price sell call.
Exactly. Right? Target price, Oh, target price is this. The reasoning in between, don't want to read because it's 100 pages. No, first thing, cover target price, move on. What's the reasoning? What's the business model and all that, So, and then people blame the analyst for getting it wrong. Hello.
Yeah. It's only like one opinion, right? Of
correct.
You can also have an analyst opinion of your own, right?
Precisely.
What about like their patent? Like how much of a role does that play?
Again, because of benefit of experience and very thankful, because I've listed a company before, one of the things that the listing advisor actually helped us do was this thing called an amortization test. Now, I know I'm going to be a little bit technical, and I'm very conscious of time, but an amortization test is actually this. The patent, your IP, they will do what we call an amortization test to see whether your IP holds any revenue value, any sales value. So when you do that amortization test, then you really know, is this IP really valuable or not? And if you have a track record of easy 2 to 3 or 4 years, then they'll say, okay, did your IP hold up? Does it have value? Then you know, this IP. So if you don't have like a track record now, because it's like 4 years listed, right? What will you do is this. You go and look at a competitor, maybe Nike, maybe an Essex. When they came out with a new model, they patented it, they had IP, right? And they executed the sales funnel well. What value did they generate? Did they generate a certain growth percentage, whatever? Do that as a benchmark comparison coming back. So I know it's a little bit technical, but there is methods and ways to do this actually. Yeah.
Okay,
I won't go into the details here. It's like it's 5 months of work.
Coming out in our future programs already.
Yeah.
It's like a whole section. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's interesting because I've always wanted to understand, like, does it mean that as long as they have an IP, it makes the company more valuable? So yeah, because sometimes they sell that, right? The companies, they sell it, we have patented this XX technology, and we're supposed to, feel very convinced by that. But somehow I feel like sometimes it's just like too much shouting about the IP, the patents.
Precisely. Here's my lesson learned. I invested in a company that had patent in 53 countries. Okay, I burned 18K worth of my money.
Okay.
Fantastic tech, fantastic patent, but don't know how to do marketing, don't know how to create an application for this patent and all that kind of thing. So I think these are all tuition fees for me, Louis. So when you ask me that question, it's very loaded because I had the real life experience of doing the amortization test, burn my money through having the mistake of thinking that a patent would bring in money, things like that. Yeah.
Common mistake, I feel like,
Precisely.
All right, so I think that wraps up the quick analysis around on running. So hopefully you have gotten some points on how to analyze on. Obviously, this is just like a litmus test. You should do more reading to understand the company better to see if it's worth investing in. So let's move on to our last section, which is the investing book recommendations. So every time I get John to analyze the stock, we also try to give out some resources for you to start your investing journey with. And these are very beginner-friendly books that you can start reading. So what's the investing book for beginners today, John?
Okay, when you said beginner-friendly, then I paused for a while. I said, this may not be very beginner-friendly, but...
it challenges the beginner, maybe.
Yeah. But I think it's very timely because at the point of this recording, an investing great has just passed away. And I was very, very lucky to catch him at the last
Mm,
Berkshire Hathaway AGM
that's
this
what I
year.
thought. That's what I
Yeah,
thought.
yeah.
Yeah.
Remember, I was telling you about this was one of the main
Yeah.
reasons I went, and
Yeah.
I hated that this premonition came true, but it came true, right? So we are talking about none other than Charlie Munger, and today we're gonna talk about a book that most investors, especially in the beginning, when they're beginning their journey, will give this book a miss because it's not
Mm,
a popular book to say, right, per se, like the other books like Peter Lynch and all that. This book is called Poor Charlie's Almanack. And one of the reasons why it's not as popular is because people write about Warren. There's so many books written about Warren, few thousand books written about Warren, but very little books are written about Charlie. And hopefully, I through his death right now, maybe more books will be written about him because we really lost a investing legend, to be honest. Okay, so here's the great news, Louis. The book is actually very thick. Okay, and you can buy it, or obviously from Amazon, or you can't find it in Popular. You can forget about finding it in FPH. Okay, even Kinokuniya, you may struggle to get it. I don't think they stock this book.
I'm a book addict. I can't find 90% of the books I want.
Yes. And here's the beauty about why this is timely, because I'm in a lot of WhatsApp group by great investors, and they've just recently shared with me that there is an online book they share for free.
Oh,
So I'm going to show you the website now. Okay, I'm going to show you the website now, and this book is an interactive way to actually read the book, because there's a lot of links, and so Poor Charlie's Almanack. You want to go chapter 1, you click here. They even have a bust of Charlie, you see. Yes, you see. Okay, you go back to the book. It's the cover version. You want to do the forward. Look at it. This is really cute. I regret didn't buying one of these figurines when I was at the AGM. They had one of these figurines. Okay.
Oh.
All right, and then rebuttal forward by Buffett and John Paul Collison. Okay, so you want to do chapter 1, chapter 2. You can go chapter 6. Okay, investment practices. It makes it so interactive because mine is a hard copy, right? So I have to flip. Okay, so I don't want to spoil the surprise of the book, but I'll go through 3 to 4 main points. Okay, what was the book trying to advocate? The first one is this thing called multidisciplinary thinking. Now, some context for you. Charlie didn't start his life as an investor. You want to take a guess what was Charlie's first career? Louis, take a guess. This wild guess.
Accountant.
Okay. He was a meteorologist. Study the weather.
That's interesting.
Interesting, right? Okay. So he studied the weather. And that's where he picked up his skills on statistics, probability, all that kind of thing. Okay. Then he became a lawyer. His father was a lawyer. He became a lawyer, and that's why he still has stake prior to his death. Munger, Tolson's, and Olson, Munger, and something I can't remember. That he has ownership of a firm. Okay. And then he decided to go into, because he liked aesthetics, he liked art as well. And he actually did some informal training in architecture, interior design. And he's actually a superb designer. He even designed men's and women's hostel for universities and schools.
Wow,
He
amazing.
designed his own house, built his own house and everything. So as you can see, he's already like almost like a savant, This also can do, this also can do, this also can do. And he got into investing. And then into investing, that's why he advocated multidisciplinary thinking. You read chapters, I read 3/4 of the book, okay, because it's really, really thick. There's a chapter where he talked about investment philosophy, and he was drawing parallels to Cicero. I don't know if you know Cicero. Cicero was a Roman emperor.
Cicero. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Cicero.
I was thinking like Cicero. I was like, who's that investor?
Correct. Who's the investor, right? He was drawing parallels of investing philosophy to Cicero. How would you govern, and all corporate governance and all that kind of thing. So again, I don't want to spoil the surprise. There's so many examples. So multidisciplinary thinking, that's one. Second thing is still very related to multidisciplinary thinking, but he calls this the lattice work of mental models. So the problem is a lot of people, we are biased to what we know. So we were brought up as an engineer, whatever. Our mental models are around logics, very, very, I wouldn't say rigid, but around the framework of engineering. Okay. So I give an example of our partnership, Louis. I started a startup. I led companies to listing and all that kind of thing. So my world is that world, right? Your world, you started up, you did chemical engineering and then you were in oil and gas. That's where there's overlap experience. But then you started your own business in digital marketing and all that kind of thing. So your world is an SEO world, right? SEO, digital web, all that kind of thing. So you see, what he's saying that we are biased is because we are anchored to what we know. So whenever we approach any problem, there's a saying, right? If you only have a hammer, every problem looks like a nail.
Yeah.
So let's say I give an example. In my industry, it was an insurance planner. They try to solve an investment problem using insurance. So the word that my mentor would actually say is like using dynamo to wash your car. Dynamo detergent for your washing, for your clothes. You use dynamo to wash your car because you only know dynamo. You see? So what he's advocating is build different mental models, build multidisciplinary thinking. Then you will come to a point where your muscle memory says that, oh my God, learn this new thing. Don't anchor back to what I know. Approach it with a fresh perspective. Be non-judgmental, and then use these bits and pieces of what you learn from architecture, music, Roman history, all that kind of thing, and combine. So yeah, the third one is really about risk management, and this is what I really like. He says, he quoted Howard Marks, right? He quoted Howard Marks, and if you think about risk reward, I think that's the most undervalued skill that most people don't think about this. So if you lose, how much you lose? Like a lot of people, they're fearful of getting out of employment, Louis. You realize that?
Yeah.
But then they don't think about risk reward. They don't think like 30 years down the road, maybe I'm going to get a promotion to vice president or CEO of the company. But you already cap yourself. Probably 50, 70, 80K. If you stay in Malaysia, you don't work for a multinational. Okay. And then if the guy really does become a multinational CEO and he can make, like, say, 4-5 million a year, he never thought about if I had a skill to run my own business. If with this skill I have, is it possible that I take some risk and run my own business and get that freedom that he wants? These are kind of risk reward thinkings that most people don't practice, including myself. In my younger age, right, I didn't know all this. I mean, I had to go through the school of hard knocks then to understand. Oh my God, this is what we really mean by risk reward. Okay, so risk management. Last but not least, there's many more, but I just want to. This is hallmark of Mungerism. That's what we call his philosophy, Mungerism. Okay, it's actually called inversion. Invert. So instead of, like he said, right, you're afraid of dying. So people proactive wellness, think about how to eat, whatever, right? So he had this sentence about dying. Tell me where I'm going to die so that I'll never go there. That's how you think. That's the essence of invertism. So
interesting.
Yeah. So if you talk about things like how should you invest? No. You think about the other way. How should you not invest? So that's inversion. So you list out all the behaviors or bad behaviors about investing that you don't want to do. Then it reminds you about things you should be doing. So invert. And I think that's crazy, man. I mean, I can only think of one person who really advocates this was Mungerism.
Very interesting, because I think from the looks of it does look like Charlie Munger was much more like involved in other areas of philosophy versus like Warren Buffett, who's more like into investing in general. It sounds like business and investing. So that'll be very interesting, especially that website. It looks really, really nice.
Yeah, it looks really. I mean, really,
it
you
appeals
look at it.
to like the younger generation who actually can't sit down and read a book anymore.
Yeah, and even better, once you find this book better, it says got recommended reading some more.
Oh, that's
so it will tell you these are. Yeah, look at this, man.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean,
we'll leave the link inside the show notes so everyone can take a look at this book. Okay. All right. So that wraps up today's episode of Stock Investing from Zero. So hopefully, you've gained some tips on how to look at On Running. So over to you, our audience. Are you an investor of On Running? What's your outlook on the stock? Leave your comments in the section below. If you've enjoyed today's video, make sure to give us a like, subscribe, and hit the notifications bell to get more updates from WangHiro. We hope to see you again in our next episode. Bye-bye.